I'm gonna make a small video of my aquaponics, like a little overview of my system that I've built here. So that's what this is. Um, I'm cultivating guppies mainly because they're just really easy to grow. Um, really happy communal fish. I don't have to really worry about any predation or anything, unless it's with the babies. Um, I started out with about 6 to 8 of them. And as you can see, I have so many at this point. It's ridiculous. Um, I keep the water at about 80 degrees, 79, 80 degrees. That really stimulates reproductive behavior. Um, it's worked out quite well. I've got my air stone here for obvious reasons. I usually place that right under where the filter returns the water because it causes more mixing in the water column, so you get more oxygen. I got my heater there. Talked about that. I've got an under gravel filter here that runs the length and the width of the entire tank. I'm a huge fan of under gravel filters. It really just it acts as a biofilter. It pulls water over the substrate at the bottom. It really helps increase your population of nitrifying bacteria. Big fan. So the under gravel filter runs to here to this pump. This pump is way overpowered. It's a pond pump. I've got it running at really low capacity, but it's a reliable, good one. So I oversized it a little bit. So the pump comes here, pumps the water up through this tube into the grow tray up here. Right there, that's where the water is pumped out to. And I've got a small variety of plants growing here. I've got a giant Swiss chard plant. I mean, it is enormous. It's growing like a weed. I cut it regularly for meals. I've got a small cannabis plant here, kind of just a proof of concept. A lot of people say you can't grow cannabis in aquaponics. Well, so there. It's a Charlotte's Web variety, CBD only, no THC, so it's not psychoactive, it's medicinal. Growing it for medicinal purposes, kind of just proof of concept. I've got a mint plant here that's just, it grows way too much. I have to trim this back on a regular basis. I mean, it's growing like a weed. You see some areas of it are being overexposed to my LED light here. Same with my basil, it's just getting overexposed for sure. But I've had a little more trouble with basil here. I mean, it's been a little more difficult to grow. I've trimmed it back, and it's bounced back a little bit better, but it hasn't taken to the system like the other plants have. I've got another Swiss chard here. It's being overexposed to the light as well. I mean, same species of plant, same system, but it's just getting way more light. See here and here, there's a significant amount of leaf curl going on. It's getting too much light, and I need to do something about that. And then I've got chives here. Actually took these chives from the supermarket. Actually trimmed them right down to the root here. Cooked the rest for dinner, and then put the little root stubs in here. And then they just, kind of took off, and they've been splitting. You can see this one's split. So they've been doing all right. They haven't been doing great, but they've been doing all right. I suspect they just need a little time to adjust, but they're doing a lot better than they used to. I can actually trim it now and get some chives from it here and there and cook with them. So once the water comes here to the end of the tank, it drains through a small hole pipe right there down into a filter I have set up. I've got another little air stone in here just because you can never have too much oxygen in your tank. Um, Actually, you can, but it's not pure oxygen, so you can never have too much air pumping into your aquarium. I've got my suite of nutrients over here because, as you know, if you're familiar with aquaponics, your fish don't really excrete phosphorus and potassium, at least not any additional stuff that's not in the food. So I've got some phosphoric acid and potassium hydroxide. I use that to kind of adjust the pH when I need to, or if I just want to add phosphorus or potassium. Sometimes I just use this right here. I use calcium carbonate as a buffering solution. Works absolutely great, helps keep the pH a little more stable. And of course I've got other stuff, iron supplements, zinc. It's actually the subject of my thesis, to use non-toxic combination of compounds at certain parts per million concentrations that wouldn't harm the fish and would promote plant growth. And as you can see, it worked, and I got an A. It's great. I was happy about that. So I measure my water quality parameters using an Arduino here. I've got a Tentacle shield from Whitebox Labs that just rests right on top of my Arduino, and I've got some Atlas Scientific stamps here, circuit stamps, for my pH and electrical conductivity, and they run directly to my pH and electrical conductivity probes, which are here. You got pH at the bottom, electrical conductivity at the top, and that's how I get my real-time data sent to my computer about my electrical conductivity and my pH. It's a great way to gather data and aggregate it in an Excel spreadsheet and kind of look at the various cycles your aquarium goes through during day, night, after adding water or chemicals. So it's just fantastic products. They're a little pricey, but I like them because you'll never have to worry about them breaking, and they're super easy to calibrate. So the data is sent from my Arduino to my computer, and right into the Arduino IDE, the serial monitor. So here's the code I have for the Arduino, and I really just use the serial monitor right here. I've got it broken into channels. There's better ways to do this, but I just haven't had the time to change that. So so if you change to channel 1, I have my my pH right there, and I'll just say C, 1 to get a reading every second. And what it'll do is it'll go ahead and send me pH results right here that show that my pH is about 6.6. That's fairly ideal. It's slightly low, but I don't think the plants mind. The fish might, though. And then I can also change it to my electrical conductivity scale. And I just type in 2 to change it to channel 2. And then similarly, I'll just do the same thing and get a reading every 1 second there. So I hope you liked my overview of my aquaponics system. It's a perpetual work in progress, so if you've got any questions about it or any recommendations, leave it below.